Hello again, my friends. Welcome once more to Leopard Street. Look at the cellar. The cellar was full of frustration the other day. Yeah, soldering being what soldering is. This one, I've got a new toy that's turned up. A new soldering iron. Let's go to the desk, we'll have a little look. And I'm going to get that bit of track I was working on the other week actually fitted. I hope. This is Leopard Street. Stick about. Okay, back at the desk. Now, obviously previous videos, yes, I've had issues with soldering, so I have a couple of little experiments today. I've got a PCF 8575 board in need of its connectors, and I have what can loosely be referred to as that blasted bit of track from the other day that needs a wire going onto it, and I've got a wire. I've also removed the old soldering iron. Now in the comments I had a couple of suggestions, and I got a suggestion from somebody on the New Railway Modelers forum for the soldering iron they use. And somebody mentioned getting an Atten. Well, that's what I've got. Right, quick unboxing. There you go, it's out of the box. Yeah, it comes with a little stand which I've put somewhere. No idea where, it's around it. Oh, yeah. Plastic on it. You get a little stand with it so that you can put it like that. I've not used this yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a little go. We're going to have a look at how you set up a soldering iron. I'm going to set it up and I'll have a go with it. Hopefully this will be a fairly quick video because frankly it doesn't need to take forever. So where we're going to start is, plug out of the way. This is one of the things you will find with soldering irons. They invariably have a wire. The wire hates people. So, yeah. But here we've got this bit unscrews. This bit comes out. We've got a tip. Now, these are genuine Atten tips. Now, before I use it, I want to experiment just briefly because I've got some other tips which are not genuine. Just fell on the floor. I want to see if this will fit. A little bit loose. There was that one. Yeah, about the same. So actually they may fit. I've got some genuine tips as well, which, because I thought while I was buying it, might as well. This came from Switch Electronics, and with 3 extra tips. Obviously it comes with one, comes with a little bit of plastic over it, which I've removed. It was about 35 quid, so that's sort of why I've got this. I did look at getting a Weller. Now, I mean, they're good. They are very good. Some of them. What I've heard is the cheaper ones, and by cheaper I mean 200 quid cheap. So not cheap, but cheaper. They do ones that go up into the thousands. You're probably getting not brilliant quality. The expensive ones are good, but not. So I got that. I've bought that. So I've got a stand to put it in. Because otherwise I didn't have one. That's just going to sit over there. So what I need to do is I prepare this for service. And the first thing I need to do with that is persuade the wire to sort itself out. Now, as supplied, I don't know if this tip, it might be slightly tinned. I think I can feel something on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on. The first thing I'm going to do is clean it, because you never know what's on these things. And by clean it, I'm going to put a little bit of flux on it, because that'll do. I'm then going to tin it, and by tinning, it's going to be basically that bit. It should show. All of that end gets solder put on it. I'm going to set the temperature to about... Does my solder say what temperature it needs? It doesn't. I'm going to set it to about 300 degrees and we're going to see how it goes. So what I need to do is set this up. I need to work out exactly how I'm going to put the wire around here. This is where having a socket under the bench that didn't have a thing in it would be helpful, because I need to be able to... Yeah, you can't really see the rest of the bench. I need to be able to position things with this. Just moving some other stuff out of the way. But I need to be able to get this into its stand without the tip of it burning its cable. So That's in. Now the first thing I'm going to do, like I say, is flux it a little bit and then tin it. I think the wire's going to have to stay off this side, and I'm going to have to just, I wonder. So I've got a light stand here that the camera's sitting on. I'm wondering if I put the wire around that, can I still get in here and use it? Yes, and it still fits in there. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So, turn her on. First time. Okay. Oh, it says off. That's nice. I'll turn it on. And it's warming up. I've got no idea what units this thing is in set to, so I'm just going to leave it until it comes out. Hopefully it's in C. As it's warming up, there's a nice little display on it. So yes, an Atten SD-2065D. And that's heating up nicely too. Still going up. I don't think I need it that hot. Oh, I see. It's got different set points. So I'm going to set it for 325 and hopefully that'll work. Okay, so a little bit of flux. It's worked quite nicely to clean it. Now let's see what we can do with tinning the thing. That took solder nicely and then all round there. Now, this is putting a big blob of solder on the end. Now, I've not really gone into how I do soldering. I'm just rolling that round to make sure it covers it. I'm then going to clean that, which is just a damp sponge. Clean that off on a damp sponge. Turn it around again just to get rid of all of that off. And I'm going to put more solder on. But the idea, and this is what I normally do, so I'm going to see how long this one lasts, is you keep the tip wet with solder. So when you've finished, you clean it, clean all the solder off, and you put more solder on, and then you turn it off, and you leave a blob of solder on there to dry. So I'm now going to clean that again. I've got a pot of the brass shavings. Well, it says it's brass, could be anything. I'm going to put that into there with that on it, and we're going to have a little look at. I'm going to do this board first. This board is quite small, and I just need to make sure I get these the right way round, which are that way, if memory serves. Just because if I don't, I lose the fact I want these things to be interchangeable. So that goes into there, that goes into there. Turn it over like that. And the job, hopefully quite simply, point with, I've got to solder some of these pads between ground and the center pin. I've got to solder that, and I'm going to solder all those bits. So I'm actually just going to move my light, if you'll excuse me a second. There we go. Because that way I can see what I'm doing. So what we're now going to do is clean the iron tip again, tin it again, and discover everything here is now getting completely in the way of what I'm trying to do. Yeah, anyway, never mind. I'm going to have to learn to live with it and solder that one. It's gone quite nicely. This one, just wet the tip slightly. Yeah, I'm going to turn this up slightly. 350. What do I do? 4. Yeah, setting 4 is 350 degrees. That should do it. Basically, I've got a chunk of metal here that I need to heat up to get these to go on. We'll do that one. A bit on there. The solder you put onto the tip basically acts as a heat conductor. If you don't put that on, it doesn't really work. So yeah, it goes onto there like so. And this is soldering quite nicely. The previous one, the problem I had was the tip. They oxidize. And the other one, even though I kept it clean and put the solder on it, just oxidized like crazy, and as a result, would not melt solder. It'd melt it, but it wouldn't wet onto the tip, and because it wouldn't sort of wet on the tip, all I was doing was chasing a ball of solder around the board, and to be honest, that was quite infuriating and doesn't really work. So here we go. So incidentally, I'm not going to be making you watch everything on this. This is just a little bit of a review on a new toy I've got. So we're going to sort this one out. And speaking of new toys, there's some other bits and pieces coming up in the near future. Had a couple of emails off Rails this week, some new releases and pre-orders. So I've got a couple of the Dapol Palethorpe sausages vans turning up, if you've seen those on Rails website. Or, well, I guess there's probably a few others. It's not Rails making them, it's Dapol making them. So, yeah, I've got some of those coming up. Right, these need to go to ground. That little blob there. Oh, that's very nice. That little blob there. Little blob there. So, yeah, so I've got a pair of those turning up. Went with a pair. Normally I go with triplets for wagons. I thought these are slightly larger wagons, so I'm going to go with a pair. And hopefully the pair will be about the same length as the triple. So yeah, this is now going back in the thing, so I'm going to put a blob on it and I'm going to turn it off and let it cool. What you don't want to do with a soldering iron is leave it on for ages when you're not using it, because the tip will cook. Even the temperature controlled ones, it'll overheat. Right, now that, I'm pleased with that. That looks pretty good. I mean, that one's a bit ropey, but I think that's me more than the iron. So that's that. So next job is tinning some wire under a bit of rail, because that was where the frustration the other day was. So what I'm going to do is get myself my piece of wire. I'm going to get a bit of blue tack, because this stuff is genius. And my serious thanks to whoever it was who suggested using blue tack for this sort of thing. That is getting some flux on it. And the reason that's getting flux on it, even though there's flux solder, so you shouldn't technically need it, this wire has had the PVC round it. So it's going to need a bit of work. Turn that on, come back up to temperature. Again, clean that off. This is the other little tip. Don't use old solder. Even in this case, it's only been sort of on here for a little while. Clean that off. Remove all of that. I'm going to re-tin this, if I can persuade the solder to go where it's supposed to go. There we are. Tinned on there beautifully, and onto the wire. Oh, that's, yes. Tin that straight away. Now the other one I've got to do is tin the rail. And this is the bit that drove me absolutely bananas the other day, because it would not tin. So I'm going to put that onto there. Oh, straight away, dream. Blob, put that back in there. I'm going to put this on. Now we're going to do this. And this is really all I'm planning on soldering at the minute, because I'm going to this is a job I've wanted to get done. So, solder wire to the rail. This has got a bit of tinning solder on it. I'm put a bit more on there, because if this works, get the wire the right way round. This is the other problem with soldering wire, is it always wants to twist. This should just solder straight on. Then remove. And that, ladies, gentlemen, and germs, is that. So, right, move the light back over here. Basically, because if I don't, it's going to get in the way. So, we have come to the end of using the soldering iron. So the thing I'm going to do is clean it. So I'm going to use this. So you just push it into here. This is just brass. This will scrape a lot of nonsense off. That can go out of the way. I'm then going to re-tin that tip nicely. I'm going to turn the soldering iron off. I'm going to put it in there. And that's done. So that, probably quite a short video, really, this one. Yeah, we'll look at some other bits. There is some other stuff I've got on pre-order. It's not just those wagons. But yes, this is an Atten soldering iron, which I must say I'm quite impressed with so far. Now, I said that about the last one when it turned up, so we'll see how long this one lasts. I'm going to turn it off at the wall, because otherwise it's a hot thing. Safety, turn it off. Just turn it off. But the join on there is very nice, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to trim that excess off because that's something I like to do. Yes, the other thing I've got on order, reminder popped up this morning. I've been thinking about this for a little while, and I sort of thought, well, do I want to pre-order it, or I'll just wait until it comes out? This is the Curascale, not a Curascale, Rapido C12, the 442 Atlantic that they're bringing out. I have a pre-order for a sound-fitted LNER unlined black one. So yes, that's coming. But that's a very quick one on this soldering iron. So what do I think? Bring it out here. It's not very heavy. The wire is a nice length. It's not massively long. It's not massively short. It's suffering from what wire does suffer from when it's been wrapped up and held together with a tie wrap. It needs a bit of time to uncoil itself properly. Usability wise, it's got 4 temperature presets. I believe you can reset them. I've not read the manual yet. So you can have if you're using multiple solder temperatures, away you go. The tip on that, if I bring that back here, you can see the tip has a blob of solder on it. That'll cool, that'll solidify. And what that means is the soldering iron tip is not exposed to the air, so you shouldn't get the oxidization on it. Just have a quick look at the other bits I've got. I've got another tip, which is basically very similar to the one it's got on it. I've got a wedge-shaped tip. This is useful because the tip here has a lot more thermal mass. So if I'm trying to solder like a kit together, it's got a lot more metal to it. That's useful. And here I've got a slightly smaller wedge-shaped tip. So this would probably actually be better for doing rails. It's flat on the two sides. It's got point along the edges. They're pretty good for circuit boards. You can get into chip legs and things. So that is that. If all you're interested in was the soldering iron, that's all we're doing with the soldering iron. What I'm now going to go do is go to the layout. I'm going to fit this piece of track back in. I'm not going to test it tonight because I want the glue. Well, the glue's got to dry before I can pull the board back over. But I'm going to glue this back in, drill the hole for the wire, and then that's that. So, to the layout. Okay, so this is where we're going to go. I've got a center line marked out here. I've got the other fish plate, which I'm just going to put back on the end of this rail, because that will make life a lot simpler in a minute. So I've got a center line marked. I know the wire comes down a little bit on the inside of the track. So what I've done is I've got some old sleepers, and I've marked where that is. I'm going to mark where that is again, because the colour I've marked it in has basically disappeared, which is quite nice. So do that in green. That'll work. I have checked underneath. Now, there is a wire going down under here. Wire's there, and there's a point servo over here. There's nothing there, so we're all right on that. Next step, use safety glasses. So, yes, safety glasses. Drill. Now, somebody did ask, does YouTube insist you wear safety glasses for things like this? No. Well, not that I'm aware of. I've certainly not been dinged for not wearing them by YouTube. Because I wear them. So, yeah. Wear them. Yeah, it's not worth not wearing them. So, what we're going to do here, this is a 4mm drill bit. Apologies for the noise. And that is the hole. I'll put the drill back over there where it's out of the way. That now needs cleaning, which is obviously mini new. Over here, yada yada yada, mini new. Now, all thing I need to do is check whether or not that is lifting up. Basically, has that lifted and has some garbage gone underneath there? And I'm not 100%, so what I'm going to do is remove a bit of cork and find out. So I'll just slice a little bit of the cork out of the way and the hole. And the purpose behind doing this is what I don't want is to find later, yeah, there's some rubbish under there, that this bit of track is lifted. Clean that, and that goes back in there. No need to glue it. When I put ballast in this area, that will seal it all quite nicely. So the bit of wire, and this means I can't run trains again, unfortunately, until this is connected to something, because otherwise I've got a bit of loose wire hanging down where trains are, and trains don't like loose wires. I've learned this. So that's going to go there. Now obviously I've got to line it up over that join. So what I'm going to do is use the track setter, but the first job is to put a bit of glue in. I've put the wire over here so I can thread the thing in at this end without too many problems. I'm going to have to re-super glue that bit, which I shall do after I have put this down. Reason being, super glue dries quite quickly, Copydex doesn't. So yeah, simple track laying. Sneeze coming, excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, always a good thing to have a sneeze. Right, that then slides on over here with the fish plates, taking care to make sure both have engaged, which at the moment they have not. Engaging. Don't think it is. No, maybe it is. That slides on there. That goes down here, comes across. At the moment it's not where it needs to be, so I'm going to slide it in a little bit more over here, like that. That brings me back the little rail gap over here, which I need. I just need to check that. So what I need to do is run a wagon over it. Yeah. Basically, I want to make sure the gap is sufficient, but it's not too big. That can then go in like that. That will lock that straight. I'm going to put some weight on it. And put a little bit of weight at the other end. And that is what I was attempting to do the other night in the other video before the other soldering iron decided no. So yeah, just a quick one this time. I'll be back probably Tuesday. This is going to go out on Saturday. I'll probably be back Tuesday. And we'll carry on and I'll see what else I get up to over the weekend. But until then, this has been Leopard Street. As usual, likes, comments, shares, etc. more than welcome. Yeah, soldering irons, fun. Apparently look after them, they'll last you a lifetime. I had one when I was a teenager. And it was a remarkably basic piece of kit, and I never had a problem with it. Right up to the point I actually burnt the thing out many years later, which is why I don't still have it. I've tried the newer, fancier ones, and I've gone back to a basic one. So yeah, horses for courses. I suspect at some point, if I'm doing more detail work, what I might end up doing actually is getting a second soldering iron so I can have two different sized tips on the go at once. To be honest, at that price, they're cheap enough. Yes, so that's that. I do have one other little quest I need to carry on with, which I've managed to lose a screwdriver around here somewhere. So I need to find that. But otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.